In this video, we're installing a cache module in the Rust Bucket 486 and rerunning the benchmark dreaded by 486s all over the world, the Quake time demo.
So one of the reasons that I have to search this cache module is that a few months ago, Will from Retro Tech Bytes and I got involved with an awesome challenge proposed by CPU Galaxy, and that challenge was to see who achieved the highest frame count on the time demo in the original Quake game using a 486. My original hardware was a 486DX4 with a PCCHIPS M919 motherboard and a few video cards to try out. I ended up choosing an S3 video card that works particularly well after you install its DOS driver, and seeing that I couldn't get very far with the 486DX4, I acquired an AMD AM5X86, a 133MHz CPU with the 46 architecture that can be overclocked. That was a good start and all, but I was still missing an important part of the system to make it perform as best as it could, and that was the external cache module. The problem with this cache module is that it's specific to this model motherboard, the M919 from PCCHIPS, and as most specific things, it's not something widely available. So at the time, I submitted my scores on the 46 Quake race without the cache module and have been looking for an affordable module since then. Well, I finally got it. I bought this thing as is, so hopefully it works, but at this point, anything could happen. Talking about YouTube practices for a bit, the way I like to plan things is doing a few videos at a time in a certain system before moving on to the next one. So this video starts another series with the 46, and this cache module installation is the first video. So let's get the Rust Bucket back on the workbench. This is it in its original form, with a rusty old case, the PCCHIPS M919 motherboard, the AMD AM5X86 CPU, 32MB of EDO Ram, and the S3 Trio 64 video card. Okay, so here's our rare cache module, and to install it, it's as simple as loading it in. There's only one way it goes in, so no trouble here. Now let's turn it on, cross our fingers, and hope that the Survivor 46 Rust Bucket keeps on surviving. It survived the boot, no sign of the cache on post, but that's to be expected. Now we need to go into the BIOS, enable the external cache, and reboot. Alright, one more time, we count on the retro PC gods to make this thing be detectable, and yes, there it is, we have an external cache module. Now we're off to the benchmark, and I'm looking forward to this. Hopefully I can get a boost from the newly installed cache module. On my original run at 160MHz, I got 16.4 FPS, and what? This is not right, this is way too slow. Now, considering I'm talking to you from the future and with the privilege of hindsight, let's rewind this so I can show you something I completely overlooked. The only way this PC starts up is with the CPU boot up speed set to low, so investigating this, and with the help of another YouTuber, Tech Ambrosia, which you should definitely check out, I was directed to this Vogons thread and realized that these cache modules can operate either at 3 or 5 volts. Now, I did get another AM5X86 that does work with the overvolt, but still, I have the same issue. With the CPU speed set to high on the BIOS, the system locks up right after checking the cache during post. And this, folks, makes me get to the sad conclusion that my search for the M919 cache module is not over. I probably have a faulty module, and if you notice something I overlooked, please do make a comment. I love to try out your suggestions. I do have a different model motherboard with cache to try, so maybe that's something we can look at next week.
And if you enjoyed this video, why don't you take a look at this one, in which the Rust Bucket made its first appearance with an Intel 486 DX4 CPU.